What if the life you're settling for is just one decision away from the life you've always wanted? This is the story of a man who discovered that dreams don't die. They just wait quietly in the corners of our hearts until we're brave enough to reach for them again. Tom Harrison was 42 years old, and he felt invisible. Every morning at 6:15, his alarm pierced the silence of his modest three-bedroom house in suburban Ohio. He would drag himself out of bed, shower quickly, gulp down coffee his wife Sarah had made, and drive 20 minutes to the warehouse where he worked as a logistics coordinator. The job paid the bills. It provided health insurance for Sarah and their two kids, Emma and Jake. But it didn't feed his soul. Tom spent his days tracking shipments, resolving delivery issues, and sitting through meetings that could have been emails. He was good at his job, reliable and efficient, but every evening when he pulled into his driveway, he felt a heaviness in his chest. Is this it? Is this all there is? He would walk through the front door, kiss Sarah hello, ask the kids about school, eat dinner, watch television, and fall asleep, wondering when he had stopped dreaming. There was a time when Tom had bigger plans. In his 20s, he loved woodworking. He would spend weekends in his father's garage building furniture from scratch. Chairs, tables, shelves, each piece crafted with care and precision. His hands knew the grain of oak and maple. He loved the smell of fresh sawdust, the satisfaction of sanding a surface until it was perfectly smooth. Friends and family would ask him to make things for them, and Tom dreamed of one day opening his own custom furniture shop. But life happened. Sarah got pregnant with Emma, bills piled up, Tom took the warehouse job for stability, and the woodworking tools ended up in boxes in the basement, untouched for nearly 15 years. One Saturday afternoon, Tom was cleaning out the garage when he found an old notebook buried under paint cans and gardening supplies. He opened it and saw sketches he had drawn years ago. Designs for coffee tables, bookshelves, and benches, notes about joinery techniques and wood finishes. For a moment, Tom just stood there, staring at the pages. He remembered the young man who had drawn these, full of hope and ambition. What happened to him? That evening, Sarah noticed Tom was quieter than usual. After the kids went to bed, she sat beside him on the couch. "You okay?" she asked gently. Tom hesitated, then showed her the notebook. "I found this today. I forgot how much I used to love this." Sarah looked through the sketches, her expression softening. "These are beautiful, Tom. Why did you stop?" Tom shrugged. "Life got busy. We needed the income. It felt irresponsible to chase something that might not work out." Sarah took his hand. "You know what I think? I think you stopped believing in yourself, but I never stopped believing in you." Her words hit him harder than he expected. That night, Tom couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the notebook, about the version of himself he had abandoned. What if he started again? Not quitting his job, not taking wild risks, just dedicating a few hours each week to woodworking. What if he gave himself permission to dream again, even just a little? The next morning, Tom went down to the basement. He found his old tools, dusty and neglected. He cleaned them carefully, one by one. Then he went to a hardware store and bought some wood. Nothing expensive, just enough for a small project. He decided to build a simple bench for the backyard. That week, Tom woke up an hour earlier each day. While the house was still quiet, he worked in the basement. The first cuts were shaky. He had forgotten some techniques, but muscle memory began to return. The smell of sawdust filled the air, and something inside Tom came alive again. Emma noticed first.
One morning she came downstairs and found her dad covered in wood shavings. "What are you making, Dad?" she asked. Tom smiled. "A bench for the backyard. Want to help me sand it later?" Emma's face lit up. "Really? Yeah!" Over the next few weeks, the bench took shape. Jake started coming down to watch too, asking questions about the tools and the process. Sarah would bring Tom coffee and sit on the basement steps, just watching him work with a smile on her face. The atmosphere in the house shifted. Tom seemed lighter, more present. He laughed more. He had energy again. When the bench was finished, Tom carried it outside and placed it under the big oak tree in the backyard. The whole family sat on it together, and Sarah took a photo. Tom posted the picture on social media with a simple caption, "Built this bench. First woodworking project in 15 years. Feels good to create again." The response surprised him. Friends commented, asking if he took commissions. A neighbor messaged, asking if he could build a coffee table. Tom's heart raced. People actually wanted his work. He started small, taking on one project at a time. He built a side table for his neighbor, a bookshelf for Sarah's sister, a toy chest for a co-worker's kid. He charged modest prices, just enough to cover materials and a little extra. Every piece he completed boosted his confidence. 6 months later, Tom had built nearly a dozen pieces of furniture. Word spread. People started reaching out more frequently. One evening, Sarah sat down with him and pulled out a notebook of her own. She had been doing research. "Tom, I've been thinking, what if you turned this into a real business? You could start an online shop, take custom orders, maybe even teach workshops on weekends." Tom felt fear creep in. "That sounds risky. What if it doesn't work?" Sarah smiled. "What if it does? You don't have to quit your job yet. Just test it. See what happens. But I've watched you these past few months, and I haven't seen you this happy in years. That has to mean something." Tom thought about it for days. Then he made a decision. He would think bigger, not recklessly, but intentionally. He created a simple website showcasing his work. He set up an online store. He started posting videos of his process on social media. The response was overwhelming. Orders came in. People loved the craftsmanship, the personal touch, the story behind each piece. A year after finding that old notebook, Tom stood in his basement workshop, now fully equipped and organized. He had just finished a custom dining table for a family 3 states away. It was his biggest project yet, and they had paid him $2,000. Tom looked around the workshop, at the tools hanging on the walls, at the half-finished projects waiting for his attention, and he felt something he hadn't felt in decades: pride. Not long after, Tom sat down with Sarah and the kids. He had news. He had saved enough from his furniture sales to reduce his hours at the warehouse. He wouldn't quit entirely, not yet, but he would have more time to build, to create, to grow his business. Emma hugged him tight. "I'm proud of you, Dad." Jake nodded. "You're like a real artist now." Sarah kissed his forehead. "You always were. You just needed to remember." Tom's story isn't about overnight success or dramatic life changes. It's about a quiet decision to stop settling and start dreaming again. It's about a man who found an old notebook, remembered who he used to be, and decided to become that person again, one piece of wood at a time. His life didn't transform because of luck or talent. It transformed because he dared to think bigger than his fear. And that decision changed everything.
If Tom could do it, so can you. The dream you abandoned is still waiting. The question is, are you brave enough to pick it up again? Because the power to change your life doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from the courage to start right where you are with what you have. And that power has been inside you all along.